This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
I know things didn't work out too well to start the week. We'll get to that later.
Since I've been picking up, I guess, but flavoured people, but it's Anais Smith.
Yeah, who says that's a problem?
Aussie?
My team's going to be fucking bulletproof.
Yeah, lad went bananas.
That should be a whole segment. Who's your favourite receiver that sounds like an accountant that's going to have 2 targets?
NFL?
You just tease. All you do is let me hang around the rim and like nothing.
I've lost my goddamn mind.
Fantasy.
The Jags are just, no offense, Matty, but they're just poo.
Or he's had Spencer Rattler as his quarterback. I mean, that's like having herpes.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
I've already hit the first marker I need, and it's basically vomit. I want vomit.
I hate it. Sticky floors, yeah.
For the Aussie Gridiron Network, this is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. It's been a little while, so you might not remember me. I'm Matty C, and I'm back for the brink of death, that tells you, and also back from Tasmania for a big week of fantasy football because it's playoff time. Well, I've got a bit of catching up to do. Nobody better to do that with than the man who is already halfway to owing me 12 cold crisp beers. It's Australia's finest fantasy analyst, Taylor Goodall. How are you, mate?
Boys, when shit comes out of my mouth, it's anything but clean. But my results this year in my 13 leagues have been pristine. You know what? It's playoff time, and it's week 15. Let's fucking go.
Every week, it just gets more elaborate.
Poetry in motion.
Do you know, because all these weeks end in teen, how hard you're going to have to work to come up with new ones?
I know. I'm taking, and there's a list of the words that rhyme with it. I'm just plucking them all out. And the problem is I keep making them longer and longer, so I'm using multiple. I really haven't been thinking this through. I'm going to be struggling at week 18, although we don't do 18. 17 is going to be real tough.
I'm not sure how I could be more impressed, Tay.
And I haven't used the same one. I've been sure I've been going different.
Diversity is his middle name. Mate, it's good to be back. I've missed you. I've been away. I was really crook 2 weeks ago, and mate, then last week I really did not expect to be pretty much with all the same mobile reception get on fucking planet Mars. So in both weeks we were really lucky that we had a man cape up and come in and save the day. I hear you got along pretty well with Ian. And, mate, that you had a shared love of just dissing the Matty C.
No, we were just best friends, hand-holding. We were just going together. We're on an overreaction show. We're on 2 straight fantasy shows together. Mate, absolute best friends going. But, mate, yeah, I heard you were on a boat. And
yeah.
we definitely, there was definitely some graphics out there about you either on a rowboat or sitting there on your lonely island. But, mate, good to see you back. Good to see you actually got through having mouth aids, and you're back to I assume talk shit about one segment in particular.
I don't know what you're talking about. So we'll discover what segment you think I'm talking about later on then. But mate, I think we should unveil the guest too, because everyone knows this man from his regular gig on the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show, plus his occasional guest spots in GDAY GRIDIRON here on the Aussie Gridiron Network. Of course, it's the king of our recent starts of the week segment, Ian Tomlinson. Mate, you're more accustomed to being the host. What are you doing here as the guest?
Boys, I'm back 3 weeks in a row. I mean, why not? It's no longer the Aussie Gridiron Network. It's Ian's Gridiron Network, where I'm just hosting or guest hosting or being a guest on every fucking show we've got right now. Bring me on for Aussie Gridiron today. Let's go.
Mate, have you got an opinion about the Capital Bowl this week, or the New South Wales got their grand final, Victoria got their grand final? If you got some opinions, mate, let's tee it up.
But opinions, I am definitely not short on opinions. If there's one thing in my life I'm not short on, it's opinions. Length of my dick, yes. Opinions, no.
Love it.
Taylor and I might have been cuddling and holding hands. Matty, if you were away for another week, I don't know whether we would have just started docking or not by then.
Jesus Christ, that took a savage turn. Mate, I was away enjoying wearing my lettuce sandwich shirt on remote islands and listening to you two. I was listening to yous and yous are just getting closer and closer, and I could feel Taylor pulling away from me, Tay. I know that there's
feel the love tonight. Yeah.
But I feel like Ian may have taken a little bit of my space, mate.
I know. Underneath this wing, there's plenty of space for two.
Under Taylor's wings there is, especially for. I mean, I'm a 6'1". Matty's a bit shorter than that, but I can guarantee there's enough space under Taylor's wings.
Bring the whole network in under that wing.
6 foot is but a dream for me, mate. But a dream. Mate, so after you've got this regular spot on our show here as pretty much host. How are you going to handle this week not being host? I mean, surely you must be pining for it a bit.
Well, I think we all know in the past how it's gone when I've just come on as a guest.
Electric? Is that the word you're thinking of?
I don't know about electric. It's loose. And we have been loose the last couple of weeks, admittedly. But we all know that it's, I don't know. I seem to go off the rails. Well, I mean, I've already made 4 dick jokes and we're, how many minutes in, Matty? 4?
Yeah.
There's no other way to be. Like, we always talk about that this show is anything but tight. So it's definitely got to be loose.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm pretty sure Tay and I one of the episodes I've been on, we may hold a record for the amount of dick jokes in the one episode.
Yeah,
yeah.
And look, records are always meant to be broken.
I know, and if it's you or me breaking the same record over and over again, look, we're getting closer again, Tay. Matty,
last week's start show was easily the most off the rails I've ever heard. It was tangents on tangents. It was hilarity. And then all of a sudden there was a mailbag, and then the rails didn't return. It just kept on. The madness ensued. It
ensued, and I don't know whether anybody noticed, but it also carried over to the it carried over to other recordings in GDAY GRIDIRON land. All the madness last week from not just the Friday show carried over into what I did on Saturday with Nick and Brad and
great show
and Isaac, of course. And then Tay and I kept it rolling. I think Isaac and I tried to pull the reins back in this week on the reaction show, but I get a feeling that as I said,
you're trying to normalise it, mate, but we could tell.
I'm opinionated. I feel like underneath there's a lot of opinions in Isaac as well, and I'm trying to draw those out. So.
No, I think he's succeeding too. I think something's cooking there, mate.
I think Tay would be able to tell us. Tay would be able to tell us a bit more about Isaac than when I can poke some bears.
We'll get into the off season, get a few beers into us, and have a chat. But yeah, mate, last week the rails were not existent. You couldn't even see them. Like the rails.
We were four-wheel driving, mate. Four-wheel driving. That's what we were doing.
The rails were the final frontier. You'd need a fucking spaceship to get to them from how far away we were on those things.
Right. Entertaining as hell, and just big ups. Thank you so much for taking the wheel and steering it for all those shows. And Ian, I think you'll get to really enjoy this week's episode, knowing that you just get to coast along and enjoy the madness.
Absolutely,
having to try and keep the rails.
Absolute pleasure, Matty. Absolute pleasure. Trust me. I mean, if anyone has listened to anything on AGN, knows that you and I are the hosts of AGN. We do. And if you don't know, and we peel back the curtain a little bit, Matty and I not only host the shows, we produce the shows as well. And we try and get as much content. Stuff. Yeah, it's all the really sexy stuff and the late hours and the talking between each other at 2 a.m. going, what are you putting into here? And where's that drop? And fucking hell. Anyway.
What are you putting into here? Is that more dick jokes?
Correct.
He knows.
Matty, I feel it would be only right if I take over the show again, just for a small amount of time. Don't you?
Okay.
A small amount of time. That's what she said.
Exactly, she did. just before we came on to here.
Came.
I feel like you've earned it, man. I don't think I've got any right to say no.
Right, good. We didn't really get it.
At this point, I'm on your show.
No,
you would get it anyway.
Let's
think of it like this is work. This is work for us, Matty. Albeit work that we actually enjoy, not the normal work we do every other day of the week. So in work time, you go away for 2 weeks, you get mouth aids and then take your family on some Romanian fishing trawler that has no fucking internet. Like you couldn't have researched that beforehand.
Deadliest catch, Matty.
Fucking copping it here.
So usually you would do a handover with someone, right? The person that's taken over your role and do all that sort of stuff. I feel like you did a handover with me that first week. You sent me your notes. You sent me your starts. You just said, here's the guys I'd been thinking about, have at it, and you let me pick, and great, right? There's handover from Matty to me. So I feel like we need to do a handover from me to you, bringing you back on after a couple of weeks, right? So we'll do a bit of a handover. I feel like there's only one
hand job.
Yeah, a hand job, exactly.
Taking notes.
I feel like there's only one real way we can do a handover, though, Matty.
Okay.
Matthew Connor, come on down, drop that drop, because it is time for 5 questions to one dickhead.
5 questions, 2 tickets while they here. I don't need dignity, I don't need that feel. They keep on pushing, trying to knock me off track, but I ain't gonna let them, gonna hit them right back.
5 questions, 2 tickets, what to do?
Matt,
I feel like I'm getting stitched up here.
A little bit, yes, because I wanted to do it 2 weeks ago. We've been through 15 weeks now, and I counted them. You've had 16 guests on here from pre-season to now.
Yeah.
Right? Great Wealth, you two have done an awesome job introducing us to all these new names and these new voices. So much entertainment. Love it. Absolutely love it. But we've got this far through, and no one has decided, hey, Matty, you need to answer 5 questions. So me being the other host at AGN, here you are, big boy.
Fuck. Okay. Well, I'm not really ready for it, but I'm in the great position of at least knowing what the fucking questions are.
Well,
So
that's
how
all
this
right.
goes.
That's something else I considered, Matt. You wrote these questions, and there's a few that we can't really ask you because, I mean, you would tell every man and their dog about your woes with the Jags, so we already know who your favourite team is. So I
You
have to
don't care. That's the answer to that question. Who cares, Matty? Shut up.
Exactly. There's a let's say there's 1, maybe 2 different questions. So,
Oh, fuck. Here we go.
you ready, Matty?
I can't look. Okay.
Okay, well, you're going to have to look. All right, well, let's kick it off with something normal, like you usually do. And let's kick it off with, you've told us a lot of interesting stuff about yourself over the last 5 years on the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show, right? So let's see if you can find something that you haven't told people that's interesting about Matty C.
Oh, okay. And I actually don't think this one's that hard because I don't think it's something that everyone would know about me. But so I've got, clearly got the family thing going on. But my kids have come to me through foster care and adoption, and they're not kids that we've created biologically. So that's something a little interesting. And that my oldest one's name is also the name of just a quarterback who I venerated, even though he kicked my team's ass twice a year. So I've got this daughter named Peyton, which is amazing. And then I think when I meet people and they get to know a bit about my gridiron background and how much I love Peyton Manning and stuff, and then I talk about my kids and I say, and Peyton did this and that, and they'll go, oh, I see what you did there. You got one through, you got one past the missus, and you got to name your kid after your favourite football player. And then, I just kind of laugh and chuckle along if the folks don't know that that's how our family's been built. So, but yeah, that's something that probably not everyone knows about me is over time we've had, 9 different foster kids come through different stages and different lengths of time, staying everything from 18 months and then returned to the family they come from because their situation really improved down to just our shortest stay was 15 hours. And then the 2 I've got who we've gone through processes of adoption or other permanency for have been here since they were a year and a half and since they were just 5 days old, and each of them been with us over 10 years now. So it's, that's probably something that probably not everyone knows about me.
Superheroes, both years, actually.
Oh, that's
Proper
nice
superheroes.
Been very good for
Here's Matty. As much shit as we give you.
actually do something good for society occasionally.
Occasionally. All right, Tay.
I was actually just going to sort of mirror what you just said, Ian. We talk so much shit to each other, and especially Matty and I being on the podcast every week. But that's something that I really admire Matty C for. Obviously taking in foster kids and what he does, for kids that need a sort of better start in life, and then obviously things change for the parents and stuff like that, and they're able to hand them back at a better time. It's something I definitely admire about you, mate. So that was actually a good thing for you to be able to say to the listeners, because it's something you should be really, really proud of yourself and your lovely wife for doing. So, but enough nice stuff. Obviously,
thank you, mate.
Get into
now I'm terrified.
The stuff that people want to hear. But again, with me, my questions is just so amazing. There's no reason to change them. So, Matty C, if you're in an apocalypse, would you rather be fighting aliens or zombies, mate?
Everyone who's answered this question, I've kind of listened to their answers and I go, I could agree with whatever the answer was from the person giving the answer. So over time, I've kind of realised they both really have their benefits. And I think in the spirit of the way the question's asked and the things you got to consider, mate, I like to consider a world where you're just up against a fucking boatload of Marvin the Martians. I just think that would be the best. Like when your mortal enemy is like where's the kaboom kind of guy, I think you stand a pretty good chance of not just defeating them if they were trying to show aggression, but also maybe just befriending them, you know?
I think there may have actually been a Looney Tunes episode where there was a whole bunch of Marvin the Martians, and I don't think it was a pleasant atmosphere for Bugs at that point either.
Well, because there's only one Bugs, right? I think it's not just me alone in this apocalypse, right? There's the whole world is up against this apocalypse, right? I'm not there alone, right? It's not like District 9 or something.
Well, you're not Will Smith.
Me and seven of me closest mates or whatever. So, yeah, I think when you've got the opportunity as a bigger coordinated group who are also suffering the same panic, you might be able to recruit a few folks to try and help make the situation better. And I don't know, I like the idea of it, the alien being, you know, a bit docile, bit funny, bit comedic. No, I just kind of thought, as the answers were coming in for that, it's kind of like, yeah. I'd like to take on an apocalypse of Marvin the Martians, please.
I'm pretty sure aliens ended up winning. After the first 3 or 4 people all pretty much laughed the question off and said zombies before we're going to the question, and then there's fucking aliens made a massive comeback. I don't know if it was because of my propaganda trying to come on and trying to say the other side to try and even it out, but it's funny how many people actually end up saying aliens after that sort of huge run from zombies early on.
Well, there you go. So you just evened it up? No, 9-7 then.
9-7. I pushed the lead out, mate.
No, push the lead out. That'd be right. Yeah. I feel like I've got a better opportunity to make cool weapons against zombies. That's all.
My brother literally said, "What a shit question."
Yes, I know. It's amazing. I love your brother. It's and that's why I specifically chose drops with your brother in it last week as well when I was doing the production.
So funny. Oh, my God, he's so funny. Kids, you're the best, mate.
It's just I don't know. You and him are very similar, but also very different at the same time.
That's actually a really funny way to put it. Yeah. He's just non-stop dad joke.
Yeah, it is.
You can tell you're related, but you can also tell you're not the same person. Yeah. It's not even close, but it's but you also couldn't not be related. There's just no world where those things don't line up. Yeah, I'm feeling under pressure because I know what the question's going to be.
Righto. So, yeah, you better start thinking about that one. And while you're thinking about that one, as I said, we couldn't just ask you who your favourite team was because I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tay, he tells everybody every opportunity he's got that the Jags are his favourite team and they suck.
Yeah.
So we already know this information about Matty. So here's a would you rather. Would you rather the Jags sell their souls to win a Super Bowl, a la Rams, but then never be competitive in the division again, or take the Bills' path where you're always competitive and look good, but can never actually win the Super Bowl?
I mean, they've never come close in 22 years. So, and that's just my history with them. And I'm pretty willing to hang in for as long as it would take. So, am I desperate to sell everything to do it today? I don't know. I've still got another 45 years of life expectancy, and I'm in no hurry, mate.
That's fucking generous.
Dynasty, mate. Provided someone in my family or Taylor doesn't take me out first, I feel like I've got plenty of time. So, I don't know. If the question is, do you want to win one or never at all? Well, you want to win one, but do I want to sell everything to do it? Mate, I'd be happy if it came in 25 years' time. I'm not like Manjot where it's got to happen yesterday.
Well, see, I feel like the Rams sold their souls. They've won one, and now they're just going to be perpetually shit. Or they'll do that thing like they're doing this season where they're shit, and then all of a sudden they just have this little blip, and they'll get into the playoffs and then just kill themselves over it.
Yeah.
The Bills, amazing, right? Bills, no
really
doubt.
Good.
Bills, amazing. Can get to a Super Bowl. Can't actually win that Super Bowl, though.
Can't even get to the Super Bowl. And the Jags have been doing that. We've been doing that before. We've got to championship games and not been able to. But if the approach here is, hey, would you rather just be desperately close and maybe at some stage in the future just happen to fall ass backwards into one, or sell it all now to guarantee one? Give me the long game.
Matty loves the long game.
Yeah.
That's what I heard out of that. Is that you, Taylor?
Yeah. Put that as a drop.
Is this the least surprising answer ever, by the way? Could I be more predictable?
No, I totally expected that's the way you would take it, to be honest. We've all seen your dynasty teams. So we know what's going on.
They suck. I am the
They don't suck.
Matty's not expecting an alien invasion anytime soon. He's planning to win in 2045.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, long view. Cool.
I always say this thing. Me and John are actually San Francisco Giants fans in the baseball, and in 2010 to 2014, they actually won the World Series 3 times. And I told all my friends, I said, I could not give a rat's ass if this team's the shittest fucking franchise in the history of the world for the rest of my life. Like I got
You'll always have that
World Series in 5 years. Like it was so unbelievable. What made it even more unbelievable is they not even close had the best team any of those 3 years. Like it was just one of those miracles
got on a heater.
that happened. Like they just went on 3 heaters in 5 years. Like
The pitching was amazing.
absolute fucking turds that they basically. It's like basically winning a title in fantasy off like just getting waiver wire pickups in the second half of the
Limping
year.
in 6th and hitting a hot streak like Kenny did last year.
Yeah. It was just like, especially that third one, they literally just rode Madison Bumgarner. They were basically pitching him on like 3 days rest. And like, it was just insane. But like I said, that's kind of different because it's 3 titles, not 1. But like, it's kind of made me think the opposite, like that I would honestly rather my team just win 1 and I'd just be fine the rest of my life. But I can see merit to both.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Vikings fan, and in my Vikings fandom life, we have been pretty good for the whole time, but always very fall short. So I'm already on that Bills path, to be honest. We may get to a Super Bowl. If we get to a Super Bowl, no way we're winning that fucking thing. No way in hell. We won all our championships before it was even the Super Bowl. So we're done, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, and like I think Minnesota and the Jags have a lot of connective tissue too, because the last big conference championship runs were the same year.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Miracle and Khalil Mack was not down. And then the one before that, the 99, where Titans beat us in the championship game and you guys were downed in the 99 one as well. So I just kind of feel like Minnesota and the Jags have got this like collective deep sigh every time it comes to playoff runs, because then they're not all the time. And when they do happen, we tend to show up all right, but we just never have the best rosters.
I mean, look at us. We're 11-2 right now. Are we getting to a Super Bowl? Hell no. Hell no, because unfortunately we're 11-2 in a year where there are still 3-4 better teams than us, which is insane to think about. Insane.
Matt.
Absolutely insane to think about. Anyway,
Are you joining 3-10, Tay? Because I am.
No, mate, it's the best. Like I said, I was never like more happier to lose to you. And like I said, I'll give you 50 beers if it gets the Titans a better pick. They are so far
Pick the beers
away.
coming. You're going to screw your picks, so give me the beers.
They are so far away from competing. It's not funny. So they need to build. And like everyone keeps saying, oh, it's a bad quarterback year. I kind of don't
What do you
care.
need a quarterback for?
I think that this is a perfect opportunity for them to just keep building in the trenches and just try and get better there. Like, if anything, you actually look at a lot of their defensive pieces, they're actually not too bad on that side. They've just got a lot of stuff offensively and a lot of holes to plug.
Yeah.
And then think about quarterback later, because I think they're going to be pretty
You
bad.
don't need a quarterback.
Offensive line, man, they've just got huge bags of dicks wrapped in NFL jerseys. That's all it is.
Yeah, and it's still better than last year. It's still actually...
I know, it's insane to think about, isn't it?
Which is like to think of how bad it was last year. And again, this goes back to my whole point about Derrick Henry, how fucking bad the situation was for him last year and this year. But yeah, I digress.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get to question 4 because we'll be fucking here forever.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Matty C, would you put on your NFL fantasy Tinder profile?
And I can't believe you haven't even thought about this over the whole time.
I've been joking all year about being handy with handcuffs, and I feel like you need more, so I'm going to have to dig into the bag here.
Okay. This is where the good stuff Sam Seaman.
This is why Tay just spurted out Sam Seaman.
I'm not available, so you're barclaying up the wrong tree.
That's a great thing to have on a Tinder profile. On like, you have no ability to get me.
Try your hardest, big boy. It ain't happening.
You're playing
You
hard
can
to
dazzle
get.
me all you want.
Happy for you to buy me drinks and get me drunk, but it ain't happening.
You think you're hard. We'll see how hard to get I am.
Yeah, there you go. You're barclaying up the wrong tree.
You're barclaying up the wrong tree. That's
That was
actually
more
really
of
good.
a grinder call that I just made. It was definitely guy on guy.
Tay, I'm pretty sure we're all doing grinder calls.
Oh, the rails are getting further and further away.
It's the number one grinder
What's wrong
podcast.
with you two?
I don't know. You're seeing exactly how things have gone last 2 weeks.
What I like is you two are clearly just melding into one person. I find it really amusing.
No one's going to know who's who.
You just hang out. You're more and more just becoming this like two-headed one person.
It's funny though.
Tal-Ian.
Every time it's been me and Kev on the podcast, I actually legitimately, even though I was on the podcast, I sometimes forget who's speaking because I actually feel like we're all saying the same shit, and we're actually like our voices are weirdly similar.
I think he's just come up with the name of the episode.
I did. Tal-Ian. We're melding together.
Oh man,
That's our couple's name, Tay.
that's our Brangelina.
That's our Brangelina.
Oh, my God.
That's excellent. All right, Matty.
This fifth question's going to be great.
While you are crying, I didn't really want to change this one because I legitimately think there will be some interesting answers out of Matty. So, who is your favourite fantasy player of all time? We know you've played fantasy for a long time. You've been through a lot of leagues. You've been in a lot of leagues. Who is that? Can you give us maybe one or two top fantasy players of all time?
I'm going to give you like the guy I just picked up once who took me on a little bit of a playoff run. And like I didn't win championships or anything with it, but there was a year where like Eli Manning, I don't know what had happened. Maybe he had a hurt running back or something, but all of a sudden they didn't really have a running game and his whole offense was based on like short passing. And there was this tight end named Kevin Boss who just went off. Like he just went off for like 7 weeks and like dragged my bullshit 500 team into a real good playoff spot. So I think Ian's going to Google this fucker up.
Oh yeah, right now. You saw exactly what I was doing.
So, and then also like this is 2011, I don't know, 10, something like that. So it's a while back. But in terms of just an unlikely guy who just became a hero in my household, Kevin Boss will live long in my memory. And then, like, you know, the guy who took me to my first ever important championship in the Astro League, Todd Gurley was the train who took me there, and I got him in the second round that year. And then the following year, I wound up with Antonio Brown and Michael Thomas in that year where they were both just fucking mental. In fact, week 16, when the Saints played the Steelers, they both scored over 30 points each in half PPR. It was fucking unreal, and my team put up a record score for the whole league in the final week. So that, like, I've had some seasons where some guys have done some shit for me, but Kevin Boss, man, I keep going back to Kevin Boss.
Kevin Boss, for those who don't know, like me, and I've just Googled him, drafted in 2007, pick number 153, fifth round pick to the New York Giants. He played at the Giants for 3 years, went to the good old Oakland Raiders when they were much better than they are right now, and then played on the Chiefs for a year before retiring after only 5 seasons.
There you go.
Burn too bright. Burn too bright.
Burn too bright, yeah. Got too close to the sun. Kevin Icarus Boss.
He's probably a fucking elementary teacher in fucking Backwater, Missouri or something.
Like an Icarus sounds like a Harry Potter spell or some shit.
Have you never heard of Icarus? Oh, it's mythology. The religion podcast that's been coming out the last
week. Who was his dad? Icarus was the son of someone else real powerful who was a bit of a douche.
We don't need to go into this, do we?
What was his dad's name? This came up recently and I fucking know I should have written it down.
Kevin Boss is currently the owner and founder of Boss Sports Performance in Oregon.
In Brad's country.
Yeah, Brad's country.
Oregon's doing quite well.
He's the head.
Have a go at that.
He's the owner of it. He is the head strength and performance coach.
Go Ducks! Quack quack.
Yeah, there you go.
Brad will love that. Brad
will love that. We are and just to foreskin a little bit. Saturday show on GDAY GRIDIRON. We are doing some college talk. College football playoffs are on right now, and we're going to do a little bit of college football talk before we do our game previews on Saturday.
So get a load of that. Fresh from the Beaver State, Brad. It on.
Brad, one word answer. Absolutely! Exclamation mark. It's like when I said, "Do you want to do college football talk?" Yes. He was so far in. I knew he would be. I didn't even have to ask him. I could have just sprung it on him. Really, the way he is with the Ducks at the moment. So, Matty,
loves it.
Yep.
That's been 5 questions to one dickhead.
That was a blur.
You've survived it.
It's been emotional.
What a
An
ride.
emotional rollercoaster. What a ride. It's been an absolute rollercoaster for me the last couple of weeks. So now there's our handover, Matty.
Jesus
I'm officially
Christ.
become a guest. I'm going to take this fucking host shirt off and we're going to go full nude.
He's got the news presenter thing going on. I kind of feel like, Tay, you know how back in like week 4 we did that to you with Pete Neal? I kind of feel like I just don't recognise how arduous that is on our guests.
It was a great ploy by you two that night. But it was one of those ones that it was just like whatever the fuck comes to your mind, it's getting sprayed out. Which, to be fair, that's pretty much what I do anyway. So it really wasn't a change. But
Same.
Wow. So we survived that somehow. Well, I did. You guys laughed your asses off at me pretty much. So, unilateral.
How far are we into the show now? Because we're going to be here until the wee hours.
Yeah, we need to get in some breakouts. Throw it in a drop.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Winston, basically, I think this game here, you could tell me he threw 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in the same game, and I wouldn't be fucking surprised. I would play Jono over him this week. 100%.
Aussie?
I hope you're really, really shit at starts of the week this week. It'd be awesome.
I'll see how I go. I'm a bit rattled, but I'll figure it out.
Rattled is Taylor's thing.
Yeah, that sums out my season, I think.
NFL?
Hang on, let me unpick this for a second. You wish Dan Campbell was your son's dad.
Fantasy.
Ironically, no woman has ever been hurt by a Matty C. King.
There's nothing even ironic about it. It's just straight up facts. Hashtag facts.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Suck on my Chubba Hub? I don't know.
That's good enough. I was about to say he did beat around the reach bush.
Okay, so breakouts last week. I'm going to do a quick recap on some of the things that folks brought up. I know Taylor will go through his bit by bit, but I just wanted to call out real quick that Isaac had spoken about Otten, who then came up with the 10-point day, which is pretty good. And he gave Geno Smith a bit of props, and Geno didn't embarrass. So, there were some bright spots for Isaac's calls.
Who did well though on breakouts, Matty?
Mate, I see that you were about a 50-50 swing. About a 50-50 swing.
That's my usual betting swing, Matty, to be honest.
I think Mac Jones was a bit of a rough one.
Yeah, true.
4 points. Doesn't
Heads up.
Hands up for that one. Hands up for that one.
But mate, Chase Brown, he didn't get 90 yards rushing, but he got about 120 total yards. He was great.
Yeah, he got a lot of reception. I should have probably done total yards, but I should have known that he would get receptions. Anyway.
Hey, the Crown, fucking Juwan Johnson, mate. Do you know how many PPR points he said he was going to have?
15.
Do you know how many PPR points he got?
I haven't checked the actual total, but I know it was a lot.
15.0. You fucking nailed it.
Nailed it, maybe.
Landing.
That's better than the previous week, isn't it, Tay?
Yeah, the previous week was fucking diabolical. It was actually hilarious. Just still going to be able to get our calls, but...
The Mike Evans ones went down in flames again, so we're not going to back it up with Mike Evans this week, that's for sure.
I know, he's still got 70 yards, so he hasn't lost the direction yet, yeah?
Yeah, the ticker's there. Let's just say that the ticker's still there for Mike Evans.
The long-term bet is still on. Last week, rough week, but long-term bet's still on, yeah? We're a pro Mike Evans podcast.
We are a pro Mike Evans podcast, and just to bring those numbers up again now for Tay, because we've started it week on week.
This is my update, yep.
43 receptions, 590 yards, 7 TDs. So he needs to get to 70, 1,010. Okay? So, still a lot of receptions to go.
70 is only 6 a week, though, isn't it? In there, 24 gets you to 77?
Pretty much, yeah. So 100% at this point, if you're a betting guy or if you happen to be playing fantasy for some fucking unknown reason in week 18, put Mike Evans in your team. Or bet the house on Mike Evans in week 18. Because
uppercut for playing in week 18 as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Just like those,
just daily,
like those leagues
daily in week 18.
Like those leagues that start playoffs during the bye weeks.
Yeah, exactly. But they all think they're smart too. Like I saw heaps of people online. It was like, we're heaps smarter than you guys because teams start to rest in week 17. I'm like, well, normally they don't. That's why they have the 7 team situation because most teams still have something to play for. and two, there's no fucking buys. Like, it was absolute buy apocalypse in fucking week 14. It's the stupidest thing ever.
And the ones that are all like, it's always part of the plan. You've got to plan for that from the start of the season, and that's how we drafted.
How do you plan for that in your playoffs? You don't even know if you're going to be in the fucking playoffs.
No, that's right. It's just so dumb.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
So
boys,
dumb.
make sure we're not taking Lamar and Derrick Henry in our drafts because they're not playing in week 14.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, fuck, get Trevor Lawrence in there. He'll help you get there. But because he doesn't have a bye in week 14, you're set, mate. Fuck, yeah, all right. Anyway, love the smartness there. Tate, run us through your fall real quick because there was some really big calls. There was some really brash calls. There was some real success. It was a bag.
Started well, fell off. I said Joe Burrow could have 1,000 points in this game. He pretty much did. It was always just going to have a monster game against this fucking Cowboys. Yep. So obviously that 40-yarder to fucking chase after the block punt was a huge help. But yeah, he had a pretty massive week. If it wasn't for fucking Josh Allen, he probably would end up quarterback one. So yeah, it was obviously Darnold as well. There was like sort of three massive performances on the week. So yeah, I was pretty happy with taking Burrow there. Kyron Williams, again, I actually felt like he had a pretty decent game in this one. Yeah. I really felt like he was going to be able to move the ball on the ground. Obviously, he was sort of involved in both facets, but yeah, I was pretty happy with the Kyron call as well. I had Ridley at wide receiver for the revenge game. That didn't quite work out. Both teams were so fucking inept offensively. It was just an absolute dog shit game, and I feel sorry for anyone's eyeballs that fucking had to put that on there.
But he had about 70 yards though, which is fine.
Yeah.
You were hoping he'd have the big 100-yard game.
Yeah,
you know? But he didn't embarrass. He still scored you 13 points in PPR.
Yeah,
so nothing wrong with that.
When you're taking someone in this breakout segment, I'll probably look for something a little bit more than that. But it's not one of these.
Totally.
Saying it was the worst, and I didn't take a top 5 wide receiver. So it's not like I should have had ridiculous expectations for a guy like Ridley, who sort of sits around that wide receiver 20 to 30 mark. But yeah, again, it's
a Mike Evans week.
yeah, exactly. The real miss was Bowers because obviously I was taking the tight end one and hoping he would be the tight end one again with that matchup, and it was just a shit day. And obviously we saw more fucking John Mayer. He fucking got his Wonderland body out. And it just, I don't know what the fuck happened. He just had more targets than Bowers. It was just such a weird game. And you can't even really blame the injury to AOC because it happened quite late. Like it was just I don't know if it was just a game plan thing and they just decided that they're not
the Bucks took away Bowers.
They're not expecting fucking John Mayer to come out with his guitar and fucking start swinging it. So yeah, it was such a weird one, but I'll just up as a bad one, and then I think Bowers will be
Fuck. All right. Well, we better kick off some big performances, some breakout guys for week 15. Because I mean, it's do or die from here, right? Everyone who's still playing fantasy now is in a playoff. If you're doing things well, you should be in playoff world now. And it means that everyone's just looking for a performance that can really get them the result this week. Ian, as host of the show, do you want to go first with the tight end?
I'm not the host anymore, Matty. We've established this. I've handed it over. I've handed the reins over.
Yeah. I will show this month.
Give it the hand job.
I will give it the hand job, and we've moved on. I'll start at tight end if you want. I've been sort of clambering for tight ends and just in general. But yeah, I think when we're just looking, I think we all are. There's such a
it's been
no one loves a tight end like you, mate.
Such a
end's been loosened.
Yeah, the end has well and truly been loosened because a lot of them are out on injuries. I believe Dalton Kincaid will be back this week, though, for Buffalo.
I haven't heard that name in fucking ages.
I know. And I think that, there is talk that he's going to be back this week. So the best I could think of would be just Dalton Kincaid having a good game back. They're up against the Lions. So there's a little bit of opportunity there for tight ends. Yes, the Lions have been better against tight ends, but against the good tight ends, as we talked about previous weeks, when you come up against, especially other ones in that division, Tucker Kraft went really well against him. They went against the Lions recently. Hawkinson did as well. So most tight ends with worth a bit of salt have been. So Dalton Kincaid for me.
And the Lions are missing.
Love
So I spoke about this last week when you took Kraft and starts of the week. The matchup said they were number one as tight end, but that was assuming over an entire season they had all their defensive pieces.
Yep.
Whereas they are just fucking hemorrhaging on defense. Like they are missing like 7 of their top guys. So you can't just look at that for what it is. You have to actually look at the team and go, is this actually the team that's been defending the tight end position all year? And no. And then Kraft goes out.
And now they're just trying to outscore you.
It's a big trap game for the Lions this week, I think, too, because the Buffalo are also just trying to outscore everybody. So I'll go a little bit better. Kincaid coming back, touchdown guarantee if he's playing.
TD guarantee. Oh,
TD guarantee.
Tay, can you match this? What do you got?
Yeah, so I've got the burn victim. Don't put him in the barbecue. I've got fucking David and Joker up against the team.
Barbecued one.
It's a barbecued one himself. They're up against the Chiefs who are second last against the tight end position. I just obviously with Jameis there, he's just fucking slinging that thing, whether it's to the defense or to his own players. If it turns into a pick six, that's actually good for fantasy, and he's just back out in the field. And we love Jameis, and he's just facilitating to his either his fucking wide receivers and Chudy or Tillman when he's there, and even Elijah Moore's getting involved. And Njoku is such a big part of that passing game as well. So. Yeah, I've got him as a touchdown guarantee as well, and I'm picking him to be top 3 in tight end this week.
Wow, top 3 as well.
Yeah,
not bad. Okay. Makes it feel like I've got to bring out a special one. So I'm going, Tay, I foreskinned this to you just in conversation through the week that I'm bringing some heat for this segment. I've missed a couple of shows. I'm all full of pluck, mate. And if you need a big performance, I've got you on.
Joining the Calcaterra squad,
mate. This guy is going to Calcaterra some people. I'm taking the Jonnu Smith train, and he is going to double bag that shit. He's going to get 2 TDs. He is the new Tyreek Hill. You guys talked about it last week. I completely agree. 2 touchdowns for Jonnu.
Yeah. They're no good against wide receiver or tight end.
Yeah, good stuff.
Garbage.
Or running backs, or fucking...
Or quarterbacks, or defensive backs, or cornerbacks, or...
Punters? How are they against punters?
I don't know. Ask McAfee.
That's fine. Okay, so that's our tight ends in. We've got Kincaid with a touchdown guarantee against Detroit, the barbecued one against Kansas City, top 3 plus a touchdown guarantee, and Jonnu with a double bag, getting a brace against our mates in Indianapolis.
Let's go.
That's fantastic. We love tight end. Who said tight end was a wasteland? Look at that.
Not Ian.
No, I didn't say that. No way. I don't say that at all. Ever. It's tight ends. It's my favourite position.
I know your least favourite position's running back, Ian, because there's fucking never anyone there. But I reckon you probably got me a breakout guy, surely.
I've got someone for sure, Matty.
Hit me with your rhythm stick, brother. That's an old song.
Your rhythm stick. Hit me. Hit me. I am way too fucking old for this podcast. Hit me.
No one gets your references last week. I got them all, by the way. I got every single one.
No one did. Goddamn
torturing
young
a
guys.
class by making them watch Never-Ending Story.
Yeah, I know. You got that one.
You know, that's the most traumatic movie I've ever seen when the horse slowly... I watched that when I was like 6. I've never been able to watch it again because it traumatized the shit.
Did any substitute teacher ever put it on a TV, wheel a TV in and put the old VHS in there and it was never end of story?
Yeah, and I couldn't watch it because I was too traumatized from watching that horse.
Pretty sure the first time I ever watched it was in a classroom full of kids.
Yeah, I fucking don't doubt it, mate.
just to foreskin how old I am.
Trauma.
Yeah, trauma. And speaking of trauma, the Las Vegas Raiders are nothing but trauma this season. And despite the fact that they have now lost 2 quarterbacks and they're down to Desmond Ridder, they've still got some semblance of a running game. I don't know how they had a running game under Alexander Madison, but who the hell knows? So the backup of the backup of the backup of the backup of the backup running back in the Raiders and in Las Vegas, Sincere McCormack.
Okay, he's literally going to be part of Taylor Talk.
You know what? I had an inkling that he would be because I saw where he was in the start stuff, mate. So I figured he would do. Sincere had a pretty damn good week last week on offense and on a running game. So I think against the Falcons, who have just been a bucket of arseholes all around the park lately. And whilst their defense has still been playing okay, we, like many, the defense isn't great, and their offense is the thing that's having to be trying to win games, and they can't even do that right now. But I think it's ground game. Sincere got, what did he get, like 30 odd yards last week, 32. So let's just go just over that. Yeah, I don't know what fantasy points was it. Did you have the fantasy points, Tay? I was trying to look it up. Actually, sorry, 10.9 he had last week. So
yeah, he had more.
10.9.
10.9 last week. So I'm going to say he's going to go over that. Let's say over 15 plus. So 15 plus PPR points for Sincere McCormack this week against the Atlanta Falcons.
Good stuff. I love it.
Hey, do you remember when we used to call the Falcons the genuine arsehole defense?
Yeah, we've done that with a lot of people. There was a lot of
They're
world
back.
record
They're
of
fucking back. They're fucking back, mate. They've come back and claimed their title.
They are back, aren't they? They're, for whatever reason, against the ground game, they've been like the least shit. But at the same time, like I kind of feel, but I feel like that's anomalous sometimes. Like when I see a defense that bad, I kind of, and it's not like they're a pass funnel. They just, for whatever reason, teams just seem to be able to move the ball in the air, so they don't bother with the run. I don't think that means they're good against the run. Like if
I
all
agree.
of the Raiders decided to run the ball, I think they could. So
it's just it's the least shit sandwich. So is it like it's a nutty shit, or is it a corn shit, or is it like a beer shit? It's just the least shit sandwich. The worst one out of that, or the better one out of that shit sandwich.
Yeah, so you're hoping it's a beer shit because that means it'll be runny, and that means they'd run. So yeah, that's good.
Matty's shaking his head because he doesn't know where we've gone.
What are we talking about? Where are we? Where am I?
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Orifice podcast.
I'm not just going to let the magic happen. I mean, I can't contribute to that. You guys are gone. The gates.
Welcome back. We've got our guest here.
Bolted.
We've got our guest here, Matty C.
Sooner. Running shits, running backs. It's just what's there.
It's amazing.
Anyway, Matty.
So we had a whole arsehole scale of defenses too. Tay mentioned it before. The Titans were the world record for arse.
Secondary.
Houston were, I can't even remember what they were.
I don't remember either. There was a lot of arse in there though.
I can dig it up. I'll have to find out. But we had a scale. We had a scale of arse defenses, and we had to try and work out where Miami fell on the plot at the time. So there you go. Welcome to the
Let's go to Miami
podcast. So, all right. So you're sincerely 15 points against the genuine arsehole Atlanta defense. Tay, it's a throwback. I love it.
It sure is. I love Ian's just gone for someone like basically that would fit a Taylor talk, like someone that's like probably going to be like 11. They give us 11% started or something.
It's the mind meld, Tay. It's the mind meld. That's what's happening here. I can tell you, Sincere was. Did I write him down? No, I don't think I wrote him down because I knew he would end up as part of Taylor talk. But I'm pretty sure it was 11%.
Yeah, it is. Well, it was this morning. It could be lower. Because
it could be lower. 9% now.
Maybe. All right. Well, I'll get to speaking of runny shits, I'm going to take some defenses that fucking suck balls against the running back. So I've actually done a bit of a double here. I like doing this. I like sort of pairing two running backs sometimes, and I've taken two players that are against horrendous run defenses, and I just think their teams are going to really utilise them this week. So one's pretty obvious. I've taken my fucking boy, the king, Derrick Henry against the Giants, 27 against running back. But I've also taken Rico Dowdle because he's one that I've brought up a lot this year, and I've been waiting for Dallas to just fucking give up on Zeke and just completely give Rico the job and just give him the keys, and they've finally done it. And he is just killing it. Like every week he looks better. 130 yards on the ground last week. He's kind of just slowly just ended up with more yards every single week. And they're against the Panthers, who are last against running back position. So what I've actually done as a mix, I kind of looked at them both, and what I thought I was going to do was bold calls, and then I just ended up just adding them together. So what I've done is I've given them both a touchdown guarantee, and I'm saying they have 300 yards combined.
Oh, 300 total, all-purpose yards. Yeah,
all-purpose between both of them.
All-purpose and a touchdown each.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not two touchdowns between them, one each.
Yes, one each. Yeah, because I've given them both a guarantee. Yeah, so they've got to have 1+ touchdown each, and they're combining to 300 all-purpose yards.
Oh, I love it because I smelt this one too, and I'm like, surely Tuba against Dallas is just going to be beautiful.
Yeah, both running backs I like in that game.
So I did the same. I just went for that matchup and went, no one can stop anyone. It's going to be drunk toddlers running around just free, like herding cats. So I did the same. Like Tuba's going to have 100 yards, just 100 rushing yards, plus everything else. But this is the guarantee. He's 100 rushing yards. So combine that with your Dowdle and Henry with 300 combined and a couple of touchdowns. Like, yeah, it's just a feast, right? Just a feast.
All one
kind of
Jonathan Brooks, by the way. That's fucking tough. Like, and such a weird situation for him. Like, I came in thinking that obviously the Panthers spending that second round draft pick on him and having a new regime and stuff. I didn't know exactly what that meant for Tuba moving forward. I really thought that it meant that they were planning to sort of usurp him. And when Hubbard played so well, then they give him an extension. Then Brooks comes back slower than expected from the injury to only do it again in the same knee. It's just tough. Like, I really feel for the young kid because honestly, it probably means that sounds to me like it could be a 2-year recovery from now. I don't see him playing a lot next year, coming off 2 of them, and then all of a sudden it's like, dude, is his future?
What is he when he gets back?
Is his future even on the Panthers? Like, I know technically it probably is because of the contract situation, and he'll still be on his rookie deal, but. It's like, do they even try and move him, or do they even cut him in 2 years? Like, I know that sounds stupid, but like, if they're not wanting to sort of deal with that, they could just
medically release him.
Yeah.
Well, you also look at guys like last season that tore ACLs at this end of the season, and they didn't come back until mid-season this season. So there's a lot of I said season a lot then, but So he at this point. Week 14, you're tearing your ACL. You're not coming back till like week 5 or 6 at least. That's if you're fully healthy and you're a running back. That's hard. That's a hard slog.
He just took ages to come off his first one, and he's just done it straight away again. There's no way that's not going to be a longer recovery than the first time he did it. Like,
they'll have to. I mean, I had that when I tore my Achilles. They said if you tear it again, the same one, it's going to take 3 times as long for recovery because it's got to repair itself properly.
Yep. And then we've even seen, like, say, Javonte Williams, like what's happened to him, how he looked before he even did it once. Like, he did his knee one time. Yeah, fair enough. It had extra stuff. It was like the PCL and the ACL and shit like that. But he has just not come back the same. And you look at a young kid like that who's done it twice in 2 years. Like, I just feel for him because I do feel like this team was planning to use him as a workhorse at some stage. And then it just hasn't worked out. And that's the problem when you have an injury like that. Like, you even seen like Jamison Williams. I know he's had off the field issues a lot as well, but he did the same thing where he tore his ACL before he started, and it's sort of taken him a long time to really sort of get himself into a good situation. And, at least for him, he didn't actually tear his ACL again, whereas Jonathan Brooks obviously has. So I feel for him, and I hope he can get back in some capacity.
Yeah, been a tough out for Jonathan Brooks, and watch his space. We'll see what happens with him. But in the meantime, Tuba gonna eat. And because the Panthers are the Panthers, Dowdle going to eat. And, fucking Derrick Henry's going to eat. But Sincere McCormack, love that. 15 points.
Yep.
Tay, I'm going to throw to you for the quarterback. I want to hear what you got to say for quarterback.
Taking someone obviously I was very, very high on in the preseason, and he's been up and down, and like to the absolute prototypical dictionary meaning of the word up and down. He's an absolute roller coaster this year. Every time you feel like he's going to go on a run, he has a shit game the next week, and every time you don't trust him, he fucking dominates. So I'm going to actually take a shot on him, thinking I can actually predict a good matchup, which is probably fool's gold, but I'm going to take Kyler up against the Patriots. And a huge part of it is probably when I took that shot on Richardson a couple of weeks ago in the same matchup against the Pats. It definitely seemed to suit a running quarterback, and it just seemed to be a defense that just doesn't really pressure you. It doesn't really create turnovers. They just are horrendous. Like, it's honestly, there's nothing else more to say. Like, I feel like the Pats defense has just taken a massive step back from like last year. Last year they had a shit offense, but they were seen to stop teams, whereas this year they are just so bad. They don't stop anything. So I feel like Kyler's just going to be able to roam free in this game, and I feel like I'll obviously have a couple of tough losses to Seattle. They're going to need one, and I've had this sort of circled for a few weeks, being a Kyler owner in a few leagues. I really do feel like this is the week where he breaks out. So obviously touchdown guarantees for a quarterback don't really make sense, but like what I've done is I've given him a 3 touchdown guarantee.
That's no small call considering he's only had one of those days all year. In fact, days where he's thrown multiple touchdowns, just 3 times.
Yep. I'm saying there's a theme here. I've got him as a top 3 quarterback and 3 touchdowns.
It's all about the trees. Trees, if you're from Ireland. Ian, mate, while I'm doing a terrible Irish accent, what you got, mate?
What have I got at quarterback? Indeed.
That is a good question.
That is a great question, Matty.
Actually. No
I've got a bloke who needs to succeed for his team this week. He's done a pretty damn good job the last few weeks in terms of quarterback play, but he hasn't done a great job in terms of scoring for his team. And I think he needs to do a much, much better job this week, especially against a defense who has been a little bit sort of iffy in recent weeks on games. Sort of a defense that is about mid-pack with the rest of the defenses. And I think before the Atlanta Falcons fans get out the show us your panic signs, we need to see a Kirk Cousins bit resurgence here because the Falcons desperately need it to keep going here. So I'm going to take Kirk Cousins, and here we go. Matty's changed his shirt so we can see the lettuce sandwich. I'm going to take the lettuce sandwich, who has been basically a lettuce sandwich over the past 4 weeks, where he's been scoring yards, scoring points in fantasy, but never a touchdown. I'm going to go Kirk Cousins. We're going to give him 1 interception, but at least 1 TD. So Kirk Cousins is going to throw his first TD in 4 weeks.
In a month
this week. But he'll also throw a interception because why not?
Do you remember his last big day out was that 3 touchdowns against Dallas game, and he just has refused to throw a touchdown since. He's gone on strike. And it's like, mate, either you've aged really quickly or just something's not right and eventually corrects itself. And I just don't know which it is. But to have gone 4 straight weeks without a touchdown in this league, and I mean, don't forget, you got to buy in this. So it's 5 weeks of actual time. Fuck me, that's a long time. I've had mouth aids and come back sooner than that.
Matty, to be honest, their offensive play calling is horrendous. Just the scheme on offense is horrendous. It is not a Kirk Cousins type of offense. They're trying to force him into a different pattern, and that is not Kirk. Kirk is an on-time rhythm thrower. It goes to this place. It goes there very efficiently, very quickly, on point. But he's not a play action. He's not a rollout. He's not a turn you back to the defense and then like turn and spot the receivers kind of guy. It's just not. That's not Kirk Cousins. And for some reason on the Falcons, they've tried to force him into that, and it's ending badly. But the Falcons need to win. Otherwise, if they don't win, Tampa Bay has that division wrapped. So I.
Ooh. Didn't someone bring that up on the Overreaction show like 3 weeks ago about Tampa Bay going to be storming home and winning that division? And at the time, it seemed like a horrendous call.
I would never disagree with anybody saying Baker Mayfield is going to do well, Tay. You know that.
It was just more, it wasn't even so much about Tampa at that time. It was that I just thought the Falcons were falling apart. This was like 6 weeks ago. And it just.
And it turns out they are.
And it's almost like a handsome fantasy analyst in the preseason said something about this coaching change not actually all of a sudden meaning that the Atlanta Falcons players were going to dominate offensively. But anyway, I can't remember exactly that.
Unless the name's Darnell Mooney. That guy is fucking Darnell Mooney.
I actually believe that's exactly what that man said. He said, I'm not taking a shot on anyone getting drafted in the first 7 or 8 rounds out of that team, but I'll take a shot on a guy like Darnell Mooney.
Nostradamus down here.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I never said who it was.
Nostradamus.
There's another name for your show if you want.
Along with the Tal-Ian.
Tal-Ian Nostradamus.
I'm not dynamic enough to keep a spot on this show anymore. I realise
there's a
past
new
my
name.
prime. I've just lost the juice,
Talk.
mate. 2 weeks out and I've just got nothing.
It's not TALOR Talk next year. It's Nostradamus.
Nostradamus. As in
And all
you,
of a sudden, I'm the lettuce sandwich of the podcast of just I can't throw a touchdown. Look at this. You
don't
guys-
worry about that. Don't worry about that fucking degenerate good call bloke.
Oh,
Like, let's bring on Nostradamus.
house arrest.
Jesus Christ, I'm writing this down, mate. Jesus Christ. Tamus. How do you spell that?
However you want it, to be honest.
It looks like a fictitious creature like you get on Sesame Street. Is
Pokemon.
A conglomeration of a couple of different animals. It's like, what's that you got there, Big Bud? That's my Nostradamus.
It's a Pokemon. It kind of resembles a bird, but then we just chucked the robot in at the same time.
I do have the height of Big Bird and the fucking girth of Barney.
That's a mashup of characters, both yellow. So that's a good start. At least
They're purple. What are you talking about? Barney's purple, you dickhead.
I was
in
thinking
my head
Barney
now-
from The Simpsons now.
It's not even better. I just think it's an even
After
better
The
picture.
Simpsons Monday Night Football, I'm just like, that's the Barney he's talking about.
Oh, how good is Monday Night Football
They
with The Simpsons?
both Barneys work.
Both Barneys. In fact, just combine them. It's Big Bird plus Barney plus Barney. Fuck it. Get them all in there.
And drink beer.
Jesus. So Kirk Cousins is going to break out with a single touchdown.
Yes, that's what I was like. And a turnover.
And only
And a
one turnover, by the way.
Because we know it's at least one
would be right.
turnover. No, let's say one turnover. Only one turnover,
Only one turnover.
but one plus TDs. Okay.
I think he's combined for about 10 touchdowns against Tampa this year. Remember, he had the two ridiculous games against them. And then, like Matty said, he had that one awesome game against Dallas. And it's been like 3 awesome games and then about 10 dog shit ones.
Yeah. Last week, I just needed something out of him last week in Astros, and he gave me like 7 points. Thanks for nothing, Kirk. Fucking up yours. All right. Well, my quarterback, I'm going straight to the top shelf, fellas. Do you remember at the start of the year that nobody on this podcast named anything outside of Matty C believed in Lamar, and they had the disrespect to rank him as low as 6, and here he is, quarterback 1 by a country fucking mile. And, mate, the loom keeps spinning because I just think this is going to be a tear it out sort of game. I know they're playing against the Giants and you think Derrick Henry's going to do all right, but Derrick Henry doing all right has not stopped Lamar doing all right. And this is the big learning this season, Tate. It didn't have to be either or. It's porque no los dos. Why can't we have both? I want a piece of that cake, and I'm going to go and lean on my man Lamar and say he has no less than 28 fantasy points. It's a big number. I mean, you saw what Darnold had to do to get 30. So, I mean, it's not a small day.
Yeah, it's just that's the thing. His arm's been a lot better this year. Even in game scripts where they're in front, he just still seems to get involved. It's like, yeah, I don't know. This Greg Roman sort of offense has definitely helped him. It's been quicker. So they've had more plays than they probably had, say, 2 years ago when it would just look like it was run or nothing. So he seems to just get it done in multiple ways this year, even in games where he doesn't have 100 yards rushing because Henry's there. He ends up with 3 or 4 touchdowns in the air. So I do believe they're in front by a lot. In the second half, you'd think they would be running the ball, but at least Lamar being a rushing quarterback, it might be half him. So, yeah, I've just given up on there. Not like there's just so many ways that he gets like points in fantasy that it'd be stupid to go against him in any sort of matchup because he's proven that he can sort of find a way in any way. So yeah, he's been unbelievably consistent this year. So no, good on him. Good on anyone for taking the shot on him. I didn't believe, and it was definitely a wrong call by me. I basically gave up on that real quick, and I'm happy to see that as a loss.
And I mean, my hate on Derrick Henry still saw him comfortably well within the top 10, which is still above a whole bunch of analysts, but he's obviously been lights out as well. Lamar Jackson, even with Derrick Henry doing all the things he's doing, one game with less than 24 fantasy points since week 8. Only one game in that stretch with less than multiple passing touchdowns as well. So it's like, even if he's only throwing 2 touchdowns, like in that game against Philadelphia where they end up losing that game, he still winds up with 27 fantasy points throwing 2 touchdowns because he runs it. He completes for enough yardage because there's some long bomb passes. So he just finds ways to get it done even with the Derrick Henry effect.
Well, Josh Allen had the highest fantasy score quarterback ever last week. The week before, I don't know exactly where he ranked all time, but I'm going to say it was probably in the top 30 ever. Like, it was an unbelievable game where he had literally a play where he got 2 touchdowns on it, and he's still behind Lamar. Well, he's still quarterback 2 on the year. Obviously depends what your scoring platform is, but pretty much everywhere I've got Josh Allen, it says 2 because he's behind Lamar. So that
Lamar just keeps on going.
Ridiculous Lamar's season's been.
There you go. So I'm going to bet on the biggest horse and still going to bet on him to outperform what he's done in recent weeks. But his floor has been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I'm going to go back to our former host for the wide receiver first to wrap up this segment. So I feel like, I don't know, I feel like, Ian, you've been a star of this show, someone who just came in to pilot the thing for a couple of weeks, and I just don't know how other to repay you than keep throwing some spotlight on you, mate.
I don't want to throw too much spotlight. I mean, I'm not comfortable with spotlight, mate, but you know what?
Yeah, of course not.
It is what it is. You change your shirt back because
that's going back to the Minnesota.
The Minnesota.
We made our point with the lettuce sandwich.
We did. I'm going to take a bloke who is up against the 4th worst defense in the league this season, and he's coming off a bye, and I'm not going to foreskin too much because we're not going to draw this out for too much long. It's Matty C's boy, Cortland Sutton. And I expect off a bye week, the Denver Broncos are kind of come out slinging it because they're currently sitting in 7th in the AFC, and I think Sean Payton is going to have a bit of a hard-on from trying to make the playoffs this season. So I reckon they're going to come out and absolutely try and destroy the Colts this week. And I think it's going to be probably right here, right now, as Fat Boy Slim said, in this game, and really try and put a bit more of a gap between them and the Colts, who are in 8th right now in the playoff rankings in the AFC. So Cortland Sutton, 100-plus yards, massive week for the Broncos. He will contribute hugely to that total.
100-plus. Love that. He's been so good this year for a guy who was disrespected, free. Some folks were ranking him outside the top 40 before the season started, and he was the highest-ranked Denver receiver. It's just, yeah, he's been nothing short of a
rough start to the season, but that correlated with a brand new quarterback, like a brand new rookie quarterback. And I think as Bo Nix found his feet, then all of a sudden Sutton started going just gangbusters. So.
Fucking love it, Ian. Love it. 100-plus. And yeah, mate, look, he had a game where he didn't even have a target and he played 95% of snaps. So he's had a season of it, old Cortland. He's seen the rainy days and he's seen the sunny days. Mate, I know Courtney Ward will love the hell out of
that. He's got a fucking throbbing one for Cortland Sutton.
He's just gonna have bile in the back of his throat here in this. Wow,
hang on that guy.
Right. Tay, you want to bring home your wide receiver?
Oh, I do, mate. It's 2 again. I've got a same game multi on this one. So I've basically given both these guys the same line. But first is Tyreek Hill. I really feel like things turned around a little bit for him last week. And obviously being another must-win game for the Dolphins, I can see this being a bit of a shootout in the Dome. I don't really trust either of the defenses. I know that the Texans can get some pressure, but obviously the way Tua slings it quick, I think it's going to sort of stop a bit of that pressure, and I don't trust their secondary. So I really think that Tyreek's going to be able to roam in this game. Obviously, he's the wide receiver 2 behind Jonnu Smith, but Jonnu's take all their defense away, and then Tyreek's going to be left completely open with his fucking 11 kids. And then Nico Collins on the other side have brought him up till my fucking face has turned purple like Barney. But I feel like him on the other side is going to absolutely dominate in this game. I've been waiting for this ridiculous breakout game from him. He's been good, but not great since he's been back. And I feel like there's just something's waiting for him to happen. It's kind of like he's either had a touchdown and hasn't broke out for a shitload of yards, or he's had no touchdown and he's had like 120 yards. So I feel like it all kind of comes together for him in this one, especially coming off the bye. So I've given them both 100 yards and both a touchdown guarantee. So they're both having a plus.
It's about time Tyreek got on the wagon. I mean, Nico's been fantastic generally all around, no matter how average Stroud's been, which is kind of been the big shock in fantasy, don't you think? That Stroud Yeah, man, there was so much love for him preseason. I don't think you or I completely bought that, but I had to go with the market a little bit in the rankings, even though we both said not sure if we believe it. But
I hated his ADP. I was so out on his ADP, but I never in a million years thought he'd be this bad. Like I didn't think I thought there was a chance he'd hit like a sophomore slump, but I didn't think it would be like this. Like I didn't think it would be like people there questioning whether they were even right about him being better than Bryce Young and stuff like that. Like it's gone so far sideways. It's crazy, but I do think there's an option here. Obviously, losing Stephon Diggs didn't help, but at the same time, he didn't have Stephon Diggs last year, so it's hard to really blame that. I do think the connection with Nico is going to be helped. He obviously lost him for 5 weeks with that hamstring injury, so I do feel like coming off the bye, there's an opportunity for him and Stroud to really hit their straps. And like I said, I can see this being a bit of a shootout.
Fuck, I hope so. Tyreek and Nico, same game, 100 yards each, a touchdown each. I'm reining him in. I'm reining in the touchdowns on this one, Tay. I promised that I was going to bring a 3-touchdown hero to this segment this week. I'm force getting 3 touchdowns. Does someone want to have a quick punt at which receiver I think can do that this week? It's the matchup's perfect.
I assume you would have taken it on someone like pretty well known because you're going bold enough.
It's not surely not Jamar Chase.
It's Jamar Chase against the hopeless Titans. Not a shot at you at all, Tay. It is just that the defense is not good. Oh my God, it is not good.
Taylor's physically removed himself from the Titans this season.
It's so bad, Tay.
He's just emotionally detached from the Titans.
Checked out real far.
Oh my God. And like Burrow will just get that ball to Chase. He had 47 receptions last week. I did a quick count, 47. It might have been 14, but 47. I don't know, somewhere in that range. It was a million. And, mate, that was against a defense that was, they played for half a game. I mean, so it's just going to be a bloodbath. And I just see no reason for Cincinnati to ever stop scoring. Like, their defense is also horrendous, right? So there's actually a chance that the Titans will score points. And, I do just think this is going to be one of those things where there's going to be someone who has the blowout 45-point game that just ends a playoff matchup. And that's this guy.
Yeah, again, he's just been so good. I know it's weird though because he's like number one of a bullet now, but he has actually had some weird inconsistencies. If you actually look through his game log, there actually has been games where you kind of forget that he's actually had some games that haven't been amazing, but like those ceiling games he has, like if you're ever going to put money on someone having a game like that, it's him. When you play against him, you feel it. It's like your fucking ass puckers up. Like you just like you're watching him all game, and you're like you are 2 seconds away from him having a 70-yarder. Like it is unbelievable. Like any league I've got him in, I just feel that comfortable because I know any chance he's going to fucking score 15 points with a click of the fingers.
It's the closest thing we've seen to me, in the time I've been playing fantasy, to just Randy Moss used to just fucking do that.
Yep.
And if you face someone who had Randy Moss, no matter where he was playing, whether it was the Patriots days, whether it was the weird days at the Raiders, it didn't actually fucking matter because he could just do that to you, whether he had Carson Palmer throwing it to him or Tom Brady. It wouldn't matter. But also he had weird inconsistencies at times too. But if somebody in the league could throw up a 3-touchdown game and you had to guess who it was going to be, the first name out of your mouth was going to be Randy Moss. And this is about as close as I think I've seen in fantasy world to a player with that level of kapow. And this is a matchup where you just know he's just going to beat up on some kid who shouldn't be in the NFL.
Matty, there was a video earlier in the week that I saw of a touchdown by Chase. And I just had to go back and find it on Twitter just to be sure when I was talking about it. There's a ball that Burrow threw that was 2 yards out of his hands before Chase even turns around.
I saw that.
And he spots it in a corner and just grabs it in a corner, and that's it, done.
It's the only spot he could have got it in there before Deron Bland could react to it. Bland did everything right in coverage.
There are only
defend that.
There's a select few receivers in the entire league right now that could still play that way.
Yeah. And, Joe Buck, he had to contain Aikman for the excitement he had about how that worked. Being a quarterback who was throwing to a receiver, doing that all the time with Michael Evans. Just the same thing.
The ball is literally over.
He knows his receiver's going to turn and have time to spot it, even though he's already turned it out before the guy's turned his back.
That ball is literally over the O-lineman's head. before Chase even turns
And Chase has
around.
got to turn, locate it, get his hands on it, bring it in. And he does. He just does because he's a technician. So
It's just gorgeous.
There you go.
Anyway,
that's our segment. Do a quick rundown. Ian's got Kincaid, Sutton, Sincere McCormick, and Kirk Cousins as his breakout candidates this week. Tay's gone for the barbecued one in Joku. He's got a two-headed monster at wide receiver on Tyreek and Nico to both really turn it out head-to-head in the same game. And then Derrick Henry and Rico Dowdle to pile up some yards and touchdowns each. And then Kyler Murray with a bunch of touchdowns. All these guys, they're going to end up being top 3 numbers. And then I've got Johnny with touchdowns everywhere against Houston, Jamar with touchdowns everywhere as well, Chuba Hubbard with 100 yards against Dallas, Lamar Jackson, can we all doubt him? If you got him this week, you know you're going to be up for some points. That's our breakout, guys, this week. And you know what that makes it time for to wrap up our Big Friday show?
Nostradamus, or whatever the fuck you call it.
Nostradamus.
TALOR TALK time. That's right. Hot diggity dog.
Well, Nostradamus is in the house.
The slow change from Taylor Talk to Nostradamus.
Yeah, I don't have a drop for that. Taylor Swift yet to write a song about that. Yeah. So, I like that she wrote a song about Taylor Talk, but
she needs to break. I need to date her and then break up with her so she could make a song about Nostradamus.
I could just write you one, Tay. I might write you one.
Yeah, who's got our back. Mate, she's been busy on a world tour too. She hasn't had time to date you. Get fucked.
just some other tall fucking aging wanker.
Yeah. Hey, mate, your segment last week, walk us through because you stuck your neck out on some guys and a couple of them really paid that off.
Yeah, obviously a quarterback didn't sort of work out, obviously sort of caught the injury in the second half, but he wasn't sort of breaking out at the time. But yeah, I had AOC, Aiden O'Connell against the Bucks. They were second last against the quarterback position. He's only 2% started, so I was obviously going a deep shot there. But yeah, I just thought against that Bucks defense, he would have been able to sort of move the ball a bit better. I obviously thought it was going to be more Brock Bowers and less fucking bodies of Wonderland, so it just didn't sort of work out. But yeah, in the end, it could have probably ended up a bit better with maybe some garbage points at the end, but in the end, it just didn't work out.
Nah, he wasn't on the field, and what do? Like, he won't be playing this week either, and you just can't predict in-game injury. So, you gotta get a pass on that. I mean, he wasn't playing particularly well, but, you never know what the fourth quarter would have brought, say.
No, you
could have bortled his way to 23. You never know.
Exactly. Lost my opportunity. One definitely wasn't a miss was Isaac Berendo. Up against the Bears, I thought the matchup was good. Like a lot of us, we kind of all knew that the fucking Niners would not be smart and they would try and win all these games. They obviously put out Garendo. I really felt like he was the prototypical guy when you actually look at him with like he's running, like I think he ran like a 4.3 or something in the combine. Like he's a thick back, so he could actually take a workload. So I felt like there was an opportunity here that he would be just used as the complete guy, and it was right. 2 touchdowns, had a massive day, so I was really, really happy. Yeah. Everyone wasn't playing this guy, even though he'd scored in basically like 7 or 8 straight weeks, and no one was trusting it. And I was like, you know what? I'll throw him out there in a good matchup, but there's obviously like risk. I even said it at the time. I said this is an absolute throw up the stumps because there is also a chance that Westbrook Akine, who I took, isn't going to fucking score, and then it could be an absolute dumpster fire. That's what happened because it just wasn't a good passing game at all by either team. It was an absolute diabolical watch, like 10-6, and that fucking touchdown for the Jags was pretty late. It was 6-3 for a fucking long time.
Fucking tough watch,
wasn't
it?
It was diabolical. Like, it was just neither team could move the ball at all, even though neither defense was really dominating. It was just so weird. So
bring back the drowning horse from the fucking never-ending story rather than watch that game again. Jesus Christ.
Fucking hell. It was absolutely dog shit. So, yeah, missed on Westbrook Akine. Oh, mate, how much time do I have here? Can I talk about Calcaterra forever? Let's
You've
go.
got 1 hour and a half. Timer starts now.
There was nothing more sweeter than bringing him up and hearing Isaac say, who the fuck is that? Like, that is the best part of Taylor Talk or Nostradamus, is basically when you bring up a guy and people haven't even heard of them. And so obviously getting to bring him up in this segment was perfect. And I honestly had some confidence, especially in a team that's fucking throwing the ball for like 100 yards at the moment in the Eagles. I really did feel like there was an opportunity for him to step in and have a good, decent game if obviously Dallas got it on IR. And I sort of looked into the stats. He had a couple of different games where he scored 8 or 9 points when Dallas got it was out. So I just thought there was a decent opportunity. He just stepped in and had an opportunity for a touchdown. It's exactly what happened. He came in, got a touchdown, and really in tight end position, even if you're starting a guy that's highly touted, if he gets a touchdown, you're happy. Starting a guy like that getting a touchdown, you're absolutely over the moon. So I was going nuts. I was fucking sending photos of Calcaterra's face. What a handsome dude. Everywhere in that fucking group chat. I couldn't have been happier. All right, this week with Taylor Talk. I'm going to take this guy again, and I guarantee he's on people's list and starts because he sort of fits. He's prototypical. I'm going to take Bo Nix up against Indy because Indy's defense is so shit, and 21st against quarterback. Probably even worse against a lot of other positions, but 34% started before he went on bye. So I don't know. I just feel like he's still not getting the credit he deserves. He's actually playing so good. Even that game against Jameis, he probably got outshone by Jameis in a way. Like Jameis obviously had far more yards, and Denver were able to sort of run the ball a bit better than Cleveland were, but I just think Bo Nix is just getting underappreciated. I know he's getting talked about, but he still doesn't get started very highly in fantasy. And I just want people to realize you can 100% start him. I think 34% before he went on bye is ridiculously low. I imagine that's going to be his percentage again. And I just think he's going to have a great game against this Indy defense. They're just not stopping anyone anywhere. I think his connection with Courtland Sutton has been amazing. Like he's basically just rejuvenated him into the wide receiver one he's promised to be. So, yeah, at home, I just think there's a huge opportunity. The Denver offense flows here.
You can start any quarterback you liked at Denver too. None of them could work out how to get the ball to start. This prick comes in 6 weeks, it takes him, and then he's just locked in. I know I'm guaranteeing this bloke is money because I need him for the Astro League, mate. He's my ride or die the whole way, and if he fails, I'm out. So that's you're not going to get a bigger believer in Bo Nix than me, mate.
I still go back to that week when he hadn't broken out yet, and no one was really starting him, and I played him in 6 leagues. It was just one of those weeks where I just didn't have like known starters in a lot of my leagues, and there was obviously some super flex stuff that I just decided to pick him up everywhere because I was playing Carolina, and he just didn't have the TDs yet. He had the games where they were winning, but he didn't have the fantasy output, and I'm like, fuck, if all of a sudden these couple of touchdowns that have gone to the running backs go to him, it's going to change his complete outlook in fantasy. And then obviously against Carolina, I think he had 4 touchdowns. What do you have 5? Yeah. He had a massive game. And it was just huge, just changed his entire year. So I kind of like taking guys like this in Taylor Talk because they're guys I've sort of found in those situations and really put like I kind of put my balls to the wall in my leagues about these guys. So I'll move to running back and I'll change. I'll admit it before, I had Sincere McCormick. I'm going to move away from that. Obviously, Ian sort of talked about him as a breakout already. I've got another guy that's currently started in 1% of leagues. So I'm like, he's one that I purposely targeted last week. I looked at every waiver wires in all 13 leagues. I was able to pick him up in about 4. And it's more about like coach speak and about, I think this guy is talented, but he just has been destroyed by his previous coach. It's Kendre Miller from the Saints.
Oh.
And I picked him up, like I said, I tried to get him everywhere, got him in about 4 leagues and just stashed him because I don't think they want to run Kamara into the ground for the rest of this year. They have just signed him for 2 more years. They know
they're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere. And I think they want to see what they've got in Kendre Miller. And you saw straight away off the IR, which, to be fair, he wasn't meant to be on the IR. Fucking Dennis Allen put him on there for no reason. So he basically sat there for 3 weeks, not injured, like waiting to come back. So it's not like a normal process for people coming back off the IR. He was fine. So he came straight in and had a good game against the Giants, scored a touchdown early. I honestly think he gets worked in more and more. I just think Kamara will still have obviously a lot of work, and he'll obviously be in the passing game a lot. But I think Kendre Miller is actually going to start to eat into that workload on the ground. He's got a pretty decent matchup against the Commanders, 12th against running back, but just in general, they're not a defense I'm really like worried about. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring up someone like this because he was one that I targeted last week, and it's been successful so far.
Mate, he's had 10 touches for the entire year. The guy is fresh. fresh as all hell. So, yeah, love it. He was on the field for 26% of snaps too, so he's seeing the field and straight away, nice and healthy, looking strong. 9% owned. 9% owned. He's out there.
Yep, exactly. I'll be honest. I looked at him for Astro, and he was sitting at fucking on Jackal's bench. I think he'd been there in his IR slot like all year. So I was hoping to sort of get him as a little bit of a stash for the rest of the year, but obviously, Jackal didn't let him go.
I thought about that about a month ago, Tay. You got to get up pretty early in the morning to to beat me to guys who are on IR, mate.
Yeah, true. IR's massive because you can just stash him.
My thing, yeah.
For wide receiver, this is someone who's a bit more highly played, but he's just going so well. It's hooked on feeling. I just think him and Bryce have such a great connection against the Cowboys. 20-30 against wide receiver. Even though I do think they're just going to be able to run the ball a lot, I just think Thielen's just playing so well. He had one of the worst matchups he could possibly have against the Eagles last week, and he still had a massive game. Well, it was just he's just got this connection. Like Bryce, even when he was shithouse last year in his rookie season, still seemed to find Adam Thielen all the time. So there's just a mind meld between those two guys. And 40% started he was this morning. He might even be lower. I haven't rechecked it. But, yeah, I just think he's going to have another good game here.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, he's, the thing that we like about Thielen, and I think probably Ian knows this more than anybody else after all those great years at the Vikings, is he's just gritty, tough. He puts in the work and, he finds space. He's just a savvy little receiver. He just knows how to find the space against a corner. So, look, he's going to be going up against a team where I think the Dallas defense hasn't been fantastic, but it's not like they're chums. Like, there's some really good players in that defense. But it takes a player like Thielen to still expose it. I mean, we saw it took a player like Jamar Chase to make that secondary look a little ordinary last week, because I don't think they're a completely ordinary secondary. But Thielen can do something similar. He's a classy player, real classy player. And he's only 115 years old. How about that?
Yeah, exactly.
Happy birthday.
All right, last of all, I'm just going to take a shot on this guy. I actually brought him up as someone that I was dropping in a few leagues, and then obviously he ended up getting injured and came back last week. But I'm going to take Jake Ferguson against the Panthers. They're last against tight end. He was sitting at 43% started this morning, obviously coming off that injury last week. He still was getting sort of worked in with Schoonmaker, but I think they are. Look, they probably will still give Schoonmaker looks, especially with their season essentially over. So I don't think like he plays the full allotment of snaps, but I just feel like he's going to get targeted in the red zone. Cooper Rush at least looks better than he was in that first game against Philly. Like, that's kind of why I was dropping him, because I was like, if they're going to be throwing for 50 to 150 yards, like, and obviously got CD Lamb soaking up a lot of those targets, I just didn't feel like there was a lot of opportunity for Jake Ferguson, but I at least have like enough confidence in Cooper Rush that he's going to at least get the ball down the field a few times. So I just thought against this Panthers defense, which still hasn't really shown they've been able to stop anyone. So, yeah, I just felt like there was an opportunity here for Jake Ferguson to sort of show why he's a sort of better sort of upper echelon tight end in the league.
Right, love it. Fergie Ferg back on the field. Gotta like seeing him on the gridiron. And yeah, as you say, like Schoonmaker was still getting looks. And even if they're still 1A and 1B this week, I know which one's the better player. Stands out like dog nuts. So they got Bo Nix at Indianapolis, 21st against quarterback Kendre Miller, taking some time off Alvin Kamara and probably just in a preservation mode after he got his extension. 12th versus running back, but we don't think Washington are actually that great. Thielen at Dallas, who are bottom 10 against wide receiver in the same game. Fergie Ferg against Carolina, 32nd out of 32 against tight end. So a great opportunity there. Mate, good luck with it. You've actually been on a bit of a heater this year with Talor Talk. So last week you took some real deep shots. This week too, not exactly going for household names either. So hopefully we can see a few pan out, mate. You save a few people's seasons.
Yeah, definitely not in running back. That's for sure. Kendre Miller, the old 1% started. But yeah, like I said, I've been pretty happy with the year. I've obviously mixed between guys that are sort of heading towards 50% and some guys that are just completely not looked at. That's sort of what I want to do as well. But yeah, look, it's been a far better year in Talor Talk than it has in starts of the week, put it that way. But that's just how it is. It sort of flip-flops year in, year out, and you roll the punches.
Well, it's not like you had a bad year with Talor Talk last year either. So, mate, We are at the end of the Friday show. It's been a wild one. I was not expecting to be dragged through the grill on the 5 questions. So definitely was not expecting that. We've been through our breakout players. Now we've got TALOR TALK in. With all that said, I reckon, Ian, after you've been on also a bit of a heater with starts of the week, you'll be back for the Sunday show, mate.
Yes. That's in a word.
I don't think I have to dangle that in front of you very hard.
Oh, mate, there's a weight, the weight of expectation, and that is really weighing me down. But I will drag myself back onto the podcast and have another swing at starts of the week.
159 points in 2 weeks, and listen to him.
Just so that I can live up to the prophecy and score 20 points for the world this week.
We are certain that Ian is just going to flop this week. Like, it just feels like it's written in the stars, like as the scroll written before we even were born. It's like he dominates for Matty C's team 2 weeks in a row, and then he just lays a fucking egg when he's doing it for the world. It's going to be glorious.
I am
the same scrolls on my mouth aids were written on tape.
A Viking. No, well,
sucking off rhinos over there.
A Vikings fan through and through. Yeah, just because you decide to suck off a rhino and give yourself a bit of chili cough.
What the fuck?
I don't know, Matty. We need to end this before I delve. It's getting.
Oh my gosh. We'll catch everybody back here for the Sunday show. We're on the Aussie Gridiron Network, where you catch Ian. He sometimes turns up on GDAY GRIDIRON when he's not hosting the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. You can also catch we've already seen the reaction show. They're going to have a great show tomorrow, which does all the previewing for the upcoming week. Can't wait for that one. Then we're all back for the Sunday show. Mailbag starts of the week. Fellas, you can find everything that we do too at the mothership, linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network. Get yourself a letter sandwich shirt. Better off, get it for someone you love. Fellas, we'll see you on Sunday. Hooroo.
Rhinos.
Hooroo.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
When shit comes out of my mouth, it's anything but clean. But my results this year in my 13 leagues have been pristine. You know what? It's playoff time, and it's week 15. Let's fucking go.
Aussie?
Matty loves the long game.
Yeah.
That's what I heard out of that. Is that you, Taylor?
Yeah. Put that as a drop.
Mate, I like to consider a world where you're just up against a fucking boatload of Marvin the Martians.
NFL?
We are a Pro Mike Evans podcast.
So Kirk Cousins is going to break out with a single touchdown.
Fantasy.
Welcome back to the Orifice podcast.
I'm not dynamic enough to keep a spot on this show anymore.
My brother literally said, what a shit question.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
I think Ian's just come up with the name of the episode.
I did. Tal-Ian.